What is going on, everyone? It is Dylan Lasagna here, the host of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, and I am recording this after this clip that you're about to see about the Washington football team. I'm sorry, the Commanders, because there has been some breaking news. Well, not so breaking because it happened just a couple days ago. But anyway, I digress. Because, well, the Washington football team finally found their commanding answer at quarterback. Or is it really that commanding? But anyway, they went out and traded for Carson Wentz. Yes, that same Carson Wentz that whooped their candy asses back in 2017, 2016. Yes, that same Carson Wentz. But anyway, Carson Wentz coming back to the NFC East after just one season in Indianapolis. Damn. So Washington's getting Carson Wentz in a trade, swapping second-round picks with the Indianapolis Colts, and Indianapolis is getting multiple third-round picks, one this year and then another one next year. So for Indianapolis, they're getting a fresh slate. Once again, it's going to be their third quarterback ever since Andrew Luck retired. They did get rid of Carson Wentz. They clearly had enough of him. He didn't do great this year, and there were reports that he wasn't a good team leader. He wasn't a guy that was well respected in the locker room. So for Indianapolis, they got rid of him, but now they have to figure out what's their next solution. Who's gonna be the next quarterback to come in that can probably be a better person well beyond the field. That can be both the quarterback and the person for the organization. So they have to figure it out quickly. For Washington, well, I mean, if you weren't as toxic organization enough, well, Carson Wentz will provide you even more toxicity. So I guess you could call it a win-win, I guess. And in terms of the on-field stuff, I mean, Carson Wentz is a small upgrade, I guess. I guess it's a small upgrade over Taylor Heinicke. But damn, I just wonder how this will go. Maybe Carson Wentz does well, or maybe he doesn't do well, but either way, this is Carson Wentz's last chance. This is literally his last chance to be a starter in the NFL. If he doesn't do well in Washington, then who the hell knows, where the hell he's gonna do well the next time he goes around. Keep in mind, it's Carson Wentz is literally becoming the Russell Westbrook quickly of the NFL, because if one team already got rid of your ass, just like that, and Washington sees that he's not doing well, oof, man. But we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz in Washington, but just wanted to make it known out there because, well, some of the things I said in this clip that you're about to see may feel outdated, but then other things the quarterback position don't feel as outdated. So that being said, Carson Wentz is a Washington Commander. You Washington fans, kind of feel bad for you, but I mean, you're getting Commander Carson. So that's all I could say. So with all that said, enjoy this clip of the season recap for the Washington football team. The Washington Redacted, has faced some questions of their own. Just like with many other teams, they had some decisions to make at quarterback, but they also had some decisions to make regarding their name. They weren't going to be the Washington football team for any longer, but there were also some fans delusional enough to think that Washington football team was a permanent name for the nation's Capitals team. But anyway, obviously we know that, what happened to their previous name that can no longer be mentioned because, for reasons. They had their name redacted in July of 2020, and then here we are a year and a half later with a new name that they commanded just last month. But anyway, heading into their 2021 season, a lot of questions surrounding not just their name, what was going to be the new permanent name for the Washington franchise, but who would be the commanding quarterback. When you look at their previous season in 2020, the pandemic-filled season, you had a revolving door quarterback all season long. Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, Alex Smith. And prior to Alex Smith coming back, let's remember, Alex Smith played only the second half of the season. And meanwhile, in between all that, or prior to that, you had Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen, and both of them didn't live up at all. They were doing absolutely dog shit, especially Dwayne Haskins, who ended up getting released because he did some pretty stupid things. Obviously, I don't remember. It's been such a long time. But anyway, speaking of Alex Smith, he did enough, or maybe Washington's opponents were stupid enough to lead the teams to wins en route to winning the NFC East title in 2020. And their consolation prize was the Tampa Bay Bucks and Tom Brady in a Saturday night wild card game. And unfortunately for Alex Smith, he got injured pre-game. He was ruled out. And in comes in Taylor Heinicke, a former backup for the Carolina Panthers, and Ron Rivera's former backup quarterback. So the QB carousel was pretty much continuing for Washington heading into this wild card game that pretty much nobody was giving Washington a chance. So Taylor Heinicke comes in to start this game and honestly shocked the world with his admirably well performance against Brady and the Bucks, giving that team fits for the eventual Super Bowl champs. So the Washington football team did fall short of the upset over Tom Brady, but damn, like that, this was something that Martin Mayhew, Ron Rivera, and the organization were stunned by. They didn't expect Taylor Heinicke in just one game to holy shit. To shock the world with his crazy performance. Now there are some things that he can work on, but he didn't expect to go toe to toe, give Tom Brady some stuttering fits. So even with that good performance in the wild card game in 2020, Martin Mayhew, Ron Rivera, the head coach general manager duo, they just wanted to make sure that there's no one game wonder bullshit with Heinicke. They gave him a 2-year contract, I believe, and they just needed some insurance just in case. So they got Ryan Fitzpatrick from the Miami Dolphins in free agency, so those two can compete for the starting job in training camp and preseason. Understandably so. There are also questions about how the Washington team was gonna be in 2021, in terms of the competition wise, because let's face it, in 2020 with the NFC East, it was pretty much a shit show, with the New York Giants being god awful, the Philadelphia Eagles being even more god awful with their tanking efforts and their quarterback dilemma of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, and the Dallas Cowboys, not being so well without Dak Prescott, who got injured in that game against the New York Giants, and Dak suffered that horrific ankle injury. So it's pretty much a situation where Washington just took advantage of a very shitty situation. So during the free agency and draft period, Washington went out, got former Panthers receiver Curtis Samuel. Defensively, they got some veteran corners, William Jackson, Bobby McCain. So this is a team that was looking to try to repeat the NFC East. They had one of the best defensive lines, led by Chase Young. He had a good rookie year, and he still had a questionable offense, but you still had your top receiver in Terry McLaurin and a solid running back in Antonio Gibson, but still uncertainty on how Washington would actually fare in 2021 with a semi-competitive NFC East, and with Dak Prescott coming back. So you go into this season, go into 2021, first week of the season, you lose to the LA Chargers, and this Washington team got some even more bad news with losing Ryan Fitzpatrick to a season-ending hip injury during the game, and in comes Taylor Heinicke right back into the starting role. And Heinicke, he looked solid in that first game. So from that point onward, he pretty much had a full season to try to prove to Ron Rivera and the organization that, hey, maybe I can be the long-term starter. But then he didn't exactly move the needle. But that's not to say that he wasn't bad per se, because he could make some at times accurate throws, especially in the short and intermediate range. But then his biggest problem was turnovers, not trying to commit turnovers, because he tried to force the issue to avoid the sack. because his offensive line was pretty goddamn awful. So he sometimes also throw the ball late, and by the time it reaches one of his receivers, let's say it's Terry McLaurin, it'd be intercepted or tipped into an interception. So for the Washington football team, they struggled in the first half of the season, not just with quarterback play, but with just general team issues that would pretty much not just plague them in the first half, but also plague them season long in the second half. So they would lose Chase Young to an ACL injury in Denver in Week 8. But then even before that, he was struggling to replicate his success from his rookie year. But his injury just complicated things even further for the pass rush. The defense gave up too many big plays. Their big free agent signing and Curtis Samuel on offense, he only played 5 games because of a nagging groin injury. And when he came back to play those 5 games, he was bad. He sucked. He struggled with route running, getting open for Taylor Heinicke. So yeah, he sucked. So the second half, though, gave Washington some slight positives. They went on a 4-game winning streak that included upsets over the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Las Vegas Raiders. But when they got to that NFC East slate to end the season, that's where things start to derail for Washington. You saw all the injuries, players going on the COVID-19 list, Taylor Heinicke taking a lot of big hits because either the injuries or the underperformances by the offensive line. It was just bad. It was just really bad for Washington, and that would be their ultimate downfall for the season. They ended at 7-10, although they barely missed the playoffs. They were just right there with the Philadelphia Eagles. But by season's end, more than half of the roster was either on injured reserve or on the COVID list. Positively, though, Antonio Gibson was a much better running back in the second half of the season because primarily in the first half he was dealing with the foot injury, and for God knows why, Ron Rivera didn't want to rest him. So also Terry McLaurin also had another good season as the team's leading receiver. Bobby McCain, the free safety, good in the middle of the field, the team's best pass defender by a large margin. Lastly, again, those upsets over the Bucks and the Raiders, while they didn't do anything long term, they still made the playoffs. I guess it still feels good for Washington. But nonetheless, disappointing season for Washington, especially when considering the fact that they got embarrassed in prime time against the Dallas Cowboys, allowing over 50 points to Dak Prescott and the boys, and this even then against the backups too. So pretty disappointing stuff for Washington team looking to command the NFC East again in 2021, but fell short of commanding completely in that year. So if they want to be the commanders of the NFC East yet again in 2022, they're going to have to make some big moves in the offseason. They have around $30 million in cap space, but some of the key free include Brandon Sheriff, the guard, Ryan Fitzpatrick, linebacker John Bostic, J.D. McKissick, their backup running back behind Antonio Gibson, and safety Bobby McCain. They're currently slated to draft at 11. They have a wide range of options on who to pick, be it quarterback. Maybe they can also use an offensive lineman or maybe a linebacker at the position. Some of the needs to address in the offseason, they obviously got to go for a quarterback because, to be honest with you, for as much as I thought Taylor Heinicke was going to be the guy, maybe long term, yes, I'm that crazy. I'm that crazy. I don't think he can because of his turnover problem. I think he's just a very erratic thrower. He also sometimes struggles with some accuracy in his game, but so Heinicke probably a somewhat reliable backup, but a long-term starter, that ship has sailed. So the front office and Ron Rivera have to come together, find a quarterback. The trade market and the free agent market isn't looking kind, and the draft class, it's still I don't know, it's still looking pretty shaky at the moment. The only names I can think of that seem pretty okay is Desmond Ridder and I guess Kenny Pickett, but that's only being nice. But the one quarterback that Washington absolutely has to say no to is Jimmy Garoppolo. So like they can't be stupid enough to actually go for Jimmy Garoppolo because, well, first of all, what makes them actually think that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are just going to let Jimmy Garoppolo into a losing situation when they made it well clear that Jimmy G wants to go into a winning situation and not a losing one, when Washington has been well known to go into a losing situation. I mean, for as much as I talked shit about Jimmy G, like on this show, I want the dude to be happy. I want the dude to thrive wherever he goes next. And, well, in life in general. Not go to a shitty organization like freaking Washington. So, Snyder has to put the chips on the table on, well, a quarterback that they see that's not Jimmy Garoppolo. So, either way, they have to say no to Garoppolo and find someone more to their suiting. They also have to add more receivers alongside Terry McLaurin. Defense is pretty much like double covered McLaurin all season long, and Curtis Samuels sucked up the joint in 2021. So that allowed defenses to pretty much go after McLaurin and force Heinicke to go target less reliable options in the passing game. So going forward in 2021, in 2022, in this free agency draft period, plenty of options for Washington to choose from, including Amari Cooper, apparently. Yes, it's recently been revealed that Amari Cooper might get released from the Dallas Cowboys. So Washington has some cap space to work with. So maybe it's an option for Washington to go out and overspend a little for Amari Cooper and, give whoever's going to be the quarterback a second option behind McLaurin some good real estate. Then they have to tighten the secondary with some linebacker help. They do need some help at corner. But yeah, the linebacker play was not great as the rotation was either struggling to help in pass defense or they were struggling to stay healthy. So they need a linebacker that can take down a receiver in the middle of the field immediately and make some plays against the quarterback or just stay healthy in general. So for Washington, the football team, they struggled not just with the injuries late in the season, as well as the NFC East slate, as well as some quarterback play, but they just lacked a lot of impact players on the roster. They do need a starting quarterback in 2022 if they want to succeed. They do have some talented players. They also still have plenty of holes to fix, though. But if they fix some things, if they have the competence to fix things like quarterback, receivers, the offensive line, they can make a running to be contenders in the NFC East again, maybe for more than just 1 year, more than a 1 year wonder. But then again, this is Dan Snyder's organization we're talking about. Well, aside from that, though, the first thing that they have to do is get that starting quarterback to command the Washington Commanders.